Daf Tes Zayin, we're going to begin Daf Tes Vav. Amud Beis Boy Minei Shmuel Medav. Boy Minei Shmuel Medav. Shmuel asked Rav, Chazer L'Kocha Mi Bailam Arishenim. If a person robbed another of a field and sold it, and then purchased it from the original owner, what's the halacha? Can the robber now repossess the field from the person to whom he sold it before he legally owned it? Amar Lei, so Rav said to him, Ma Machal Rish L'Sheni. No, you cannot. What did the first person, the robber, sell to the second person, the purchaser, when he sold them the field? Sold him the field. He sold him any rights to the field that will come into his possession. So the rights to that the robber has now acquired are transferred to the purchaser. My time, what's the reason that the robber would buy the land he had already sold in order to retroactively uphold the sale? It's preferable for him not to be called a robber by the purchaser when the original owner demands his return to the field. It's preferable for him to maintain reliability to be considered an honest person. What's the difference between the two opinions? The difference is between them in the case where the purchaser died. According to the one who says that the robber bought it because it's preferable for him not to be called a robber. In this case, since the purchaser died, the owner is not present to call the seller a robber. So he presumably did not intend to retroactively validate the sale. And the one who says that it's preferable for him to maintain his reliability, it's preferable for him to maintain his reliability with regard to the purchaser's children too. Ultimately, the purchaser's children will also call the seller a robber in the field as appropriate for them. Therefore, there's no difference between the two explanations of Rav's ruling in the case where the purchaser had died. Rather, the practical difference is given out the mis gazlan, the case where the robber himself died and his children bought the field from the owner. According to one who says that the motivation is that it's preferable for a person not to be called a robber. Gazlan, he already died and his motive is not applicable. Obviously, he died. According to the one who says it's preferable for him to maintain his reliability, even though he died, it's preferable for him to maintain his reliability. One is concerned about the reputation he will have after his death, not only while he's alive. And where it says, ultimately, if the sale is revoked after his death, people will call the children of a robber. Just as one does not want to be called a robber during his lifetime, a person doesn't want his children to be called the children of a robber after his death. The difference is where the robber gave the land, the recipient as a gift rather than selling it. According to the one who says that it's preferable for him to maintain his reliability, in the case of the gift also it's preferable for him to maintain his reliability. According to the one who says it's preferable for him not to be called a robber, the case of the robber could say to the recipient of the gift, what did I rob of you? You incurred no loss. The Gemara discusses various cases relating to the halacha of one who sold stolen land and then acquired it from the robbery victim. Pshita is obvious. If after selling the stolen land, the robber sold it again to another person and then bequeathed it or gave it as a gift, it's clear that the robber does not want to establish a for. In other words, transfer ownership of it to the original buyer. Likewise, it's clear that if the land that he stole and then sold later came into the possession not by the purchase but as an inheritance, it's inheritance passively. The robber did not make an effort to acquire it. If the robber collected the land that he had sold as a payment for the debt owed to him by the robbery victim, we need to see the circumstances. If the robbery victim has other land from which the robber could have collected the debt, and nevertheless he said, I want to collect this land. The robber wanted to establish it before the buyer and the sale. If the robbery victim does not have other land, he merely wanted to be paid money of the chayiv and not to secure the land of the buyer. Case where the robber gave the land as a gift to the robber. as it comes passively. One says the matana is like a mecher, like a sale. The ton of arts matana. Without the fact that the robber took the trouble to ingratiate himself with the owner, we're not giving him a gift. It's clear for this reason the robber took the trouble to ingratiate himself with him in order to validate the sale and thereby maintain his reliability. Until when can it be assumed that the robber bought the land because it's preferable for him to maintain his reliability? Until the time of the dintera. Once the purchaser takes the robber to Beis Din, it is too late for the robber to protect his reputation, as the purchaser has demonstrated that he does not consider the robber to be trustworthy. He says that the robber would still buy the land from the owner in order to maintain his reliability till the time that the document of authorization by the Beis Din to locate and seize property for the robber came into the purchaser's possession. Papa says that the Maschul Yemei days of the alphabet begins. Maskul of Rabbi Merchami asked Michti, how the my aro. After all, at what means a mode of acquisition does the purchaser acquire the land? Ba'ishtar means by this deed of the sale the robber gave him. This purchaser is invalid as this document is merely a shard. Since the robber did not own at the time of the sale, the land is that he purported to sell. The Rabbi said to him, let Rav's statement be understood as applied to that case where the buyer said to the robber that he trusts him to resolve the legal issues. By virtue of the satisfaction that the robber received from the buyer not having said anything to him, the question is right to the land, rather having relied on him, it resolves the transfer of the land's ownership to him. Most of the Sheshis raised the objection, that which I will inherit from my father is here I sold to you. Or that which my net will catch is sold to you. He didn't say anything. I sell something which he does not own. That which I will inherit from your father today is here I sold to you. That which my net will catch today is sold to you. His statement stands. First, the halacha of the brayso indicates that one cannot sell something which doesn't own, which the Seiser Rav's ruling. This is a great man, this is his tiyufta. Amar says, I see that he is a great man. Tiyufta but I don't see a conclusive tiyufta. In the case of the validating the sale, the purchaser relies on the seller. Hopefully, some padaiti. But there, in the case of the price, the purchaser does not rely on the seller. Hopefully, some padaiti. Here, in the case of the validating the sale, the purchaser relies on the seller. The ozil tarach ha'maisa. He relies on the seller to go take the trouble of providing with the land so that it will not be called a robber. Hopefully, some padaiti. But here, in the case of the price, the purchaser does not rely on the seller. It's a subject whether the seller will actually inherit the father's property or catch anything with his net. Sholfel kamei de Rabbi Abba bar Zavdo. Chomsen Rav Shesh's objection is presented before Rabbi Abba bar Zavdo. He said to them, this objection cannot be introduced inside the study hall for further clarification. It's clear and compelling. This objection needs to be brought inside the study hall and inside the innermost area of the study hall. In other words, it should be examined carefully and it's not compelling. Here, the purchaser relies on the seller, whereas there, in the case of the price, the purchaser does not rely on the seller. There was a story in Pumbedisa where the Beis Din ruled in accordance with the opinion of Rav, and the Chacham refuted the ruling based on the brayso cited earlier. Rabbi said to them, this objection need not be introduced inside the study hall for clarification. And the objection is clear and compelling. It does need. As here, the purchaser relies on the seller. There, the purchaser does not rely on the seller. Maishno, the Isha Maishno Sefer. What's the difference between the Isha Sefer? Rabbi Yechlan, Sefer Mashirish Ma'abayim Mishum Kved Aviv. In the Isha, in the Sefer, well, the seller says, I'm selling that which I will inherit from my father today. He does this for the honor of his father. He believes that his father will die that day. His intention is to raise money for the burial. So this is a takana that the sale is valid. That which was right will catch today is sold to you. Chayav is because of the concern of his immediate livelihood. Person says to another, with regard to the field that I am about to buy, when I buy it, I will retroactively transfer to your ownership from now. Tonight takes effect, and once he buys it, the second party has acquired the field. Says, the statement of Rav is reasonable only with regards to an unspecified field. So one is capable of buying a field. With regard to the case where one says to another that he's selling him this specified field, it does not work. As who is to say that the current owner will not sell it to him? Well, my God, after all, according to who does Rav says halacha? Like Rameir, person could transfer ownership for an entity that he has not yet come into the world. Person says to a woman, he's actually after she is gayer. If it comes to me after I convert, after she is gayer, after you convert, after she is after I am freed, after she is after I am freed, after she is after you are freed, after she is after your husband dies, after she is after your Vavam performs chalitza, after your sister dies, and Mekadesh is not Mekadesh. Since you cannot Mekadesh, Kaddish at present time is attempt to Mekadesh is ineffective. A mayor on the notice says Mekadeshes. A mayor holds that one can acquire that which is not yet available. The acquisition will take effect once the item is available. In this case as well, the Mekadesh will take effect once it becomes possible for it to become Mekadesh. Hayisha Kisada Zudami isn't a woman compared to a field, and Meir says is Mekadeshes. It is therefore clear that Rav, who accepts the opinion of Rameir, holds that the sale is effective even if the seller specified a specific field. Much more Shmuel says, with regard to one who finds a deed of transfer. In other words, a promissory note that establishes a lien on the debtor's property from the date it is written, regardless of whether or not he borrows the money at the time. In the marketplace, he must return it to the owner. If it were to be concerned because of the possibility that the debtor wrote the note intending to borrow money and did not borrow at the end, he is nevertheless chayiv, or shabbat nafshei, so he's committing himself to pay at the time it was written. If it would be concerned because of the possibility of repayment, the Chashin and Pereira were now concerned about repayment, at least to the party, as if it were so that the debtor had repaid, we can have it correlate, we certainly have torn it up. Rachman says, Abba min Safed Dayoni the Marshal Haba. Our father was one of the scribes and the judges of Marshal. I was about 6 or 7 years old. I remember that they made an announcement saying, those deeds of transfer that are found in the marketplace, I didn't know Mari should be returned to their owner, according to the Peter Shmuel. Our Amr says, Afanan Tanina, we also learned in the Mishnah, Kolmaisa Bezdin, as a Yasser, anyone must return any court enactment. We're not worried about repayment. The Mishnah is not approved, as it's talking about with regards to bills of foreclosure, which awards property to a creditor as payment for the debt owed to him. The Labnei B'nai, which are not subject to repayment. Our says, and are those bills not subject to repayment? But didn't the sages and Nardai say, appraisal was value, the property is returned to his debtor, pays the debt until 12 months. Says, I am from Nardai. And I nevertheless hold that the property is appraisal, always can be returned. As I can say that the debtor already repaid his debt as he who caused him the loss himself. To be in the parai, he boiled the mikal l'shtari. Time he repaid the debt, he should have either ripped up the document, and now the mikal l'shtari or you should have demanded the creditor to write another document of the debtor. The reason for the document is to be written is the Medina hourly boy in the matter, that according to the letter of the law, the land cannot be returned. And it's due to the principle, you shall do that which is right and good in the eyes of the Lord. Who there? Chum said the land should be returned. And therefore, and as though that the debtor is purchasing anew, the creditor should have read a bill of sale. Gabi Starfe Michael, what are you going to say in regards to Starfe? Imi said the party, if it's so that the debtor paid the debt, you should have ripped off the note. It's not so, as you could have said that the creditor is avoiding returning the note, as you said, tomorrow I will give you the note, and it's not with me now. Alternatively, the creditor may have held back for the fee of the scribe. A person who finds a shtarchev in the shuk, even though the ratification of the court is written on it, the should not return it to the owner, the creditor. It's not necessary to say in the case there's no ratification that's written. Maybe you wrote it, but you never blended it. But even if there's ratification, I should not return it. What is the authorization? As approval that the promissory note has been ratified by the basin, which examined the note and the signatures of the witnesses. The reason for why can you not return it to Chashidim? We're worried that the repayment had already taken place. One must return any court enactment. Said my son, not all the enactments are equal. Rather, the ruling, the debtor is talking about that he's hoksa kafran. Is a status of one who denies debt, so therefore he claims the debt was repeated, the claim is not accepted. Says me, just because one time he's a hoksa kafran, we say that he never again repay. The mission is referred to a bill of foreclosure, a bill of authorization, and it could be zeta. Whereas the kafran hayil v'asa the leader namile milsa, with regards to the topic of one who denies his debt, so then say 10 lay. The court said to the litigants against whom they ruled, go and give the other litigants what you owe them. And he says, and he says, and the guy says to him, Parati, I repaid you. Neman, he's believed. Therefore, if the creditor comes and asks the court to write the authorization for him, in case of they do not write the authorization for and give the document to him. If the business said you are chayav to give him, and he says, Parati, I gave it, I paid it, and then it's not if the creditor comes and asks the court to write it, in case of we do it. Both in the case the basin said go and give him what you owed him, or the case of the court said you were liable to give them, and he says Parati, he says I paid it, then when he's believed. Therefore, if the creditor comes and asks the basin to write the authorization, in case of they do not write the document and give it to him. But if there is room to make a distinction, this is the distinction between them. Let's say 10 if the basin said to the debtor, go and give him what you owe him. He says, Parati, I paid it. And say he did it. They said, Parati, I did pay it. At this moment, he's considered a sakaf in regards to this money. He's no longer believed when he claims that he repaid the debt, unless when this is substantiated his claim. But if the business is reliable to give what you owe, and he says, Parati, I paid it. Edim said never happened. They said, my time. He's just buying time. So rather, until this investigated and based in, I'm not actually liable to pay until the verdict is finalized, and then I'll find money.